Okay, Namaste. Welcome to the third session of this course on Dhyana-Upasana in Samkhya and Yoga. Dhyan is translated as meditation. We will use the term Upasana without translating into English. Okay, let me share my slides here. So this is our title. There are a lot of complexities here, but as I said, this is authentic. So complexity is because there is a lot of misinformation about many things. And that's what is misunderstandings. And we are providing the best solution to get away from these misunderstandings. And they are particularly related to what is Vedic concept of mind that we borrow from Sankhya. And Sankhya also talks about how to calm our mind, but Patanjali goes in more details. So we are using these two books, Sankhya written by Patanjali and Yoga written by, Sankhya written by Kapil and Yoga Darshan by Patanjali. Okay, let's move on. So I will briefly review the last week session. The last week we covered what are the misconceptions related to Upasana. Number one is, 99.9% people, when they say they are attending yoga class or they do yoga practice, what they actually mean is Hatha yoga. These are body exercise, sometimes body exercise as well as breathing exercise. This is for betterment in health, but it has nothing to do with Patanjali's yoga treatise. So Hatha yoga is Hatha yoga, and when we say yoga, we mean Patanjali's book on yoga. The second is a recitation of Ved mantras motivating to Upasana is treated as Upasana. Those who are from Ayasama's background, they are familiar with a set of 8 mantras called Ishwar Stuti Prarthana. If you know the meaning of those mantras and you are reciting it very attentively, devotedly, then you have done the stuti. Same thing applies to Prarthana, but thus same thing does not apply to Upasana. Upasana is basically to calm your mind. That is what Patanjali is defining as Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So we will go through all these technicalities of what is Chitta and what is Vritti and what is Nirodha. Basically, Chitta is the innermost component of mind, which displays many things. Even as we go to sleep, we have dreams that are displayed there. It's a dynamic phenomenon, which is like a movie, a cinema is going on. But sometimes, if it is just one still image, that is called Vritti, Chitta Vritti. Vritti is your image. That's the way I will translate it. But translation is not that appropriate because when I say image, you will think about visual image. But actually, it can be 5-dimensional image pertaining to sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. But that is the best I can translate Vritti as image. So as far as our chitta is concerned, that is our innermost component of mind. Patanjali and his commentator Vyas says that has 5 possible states. The Sanskrit terms is kshipt, which means very dynamic, like a child has a very, mind is very flickering. And mood means our mind is very much dull, as in when we are in deep sleep. And then it is vikshipta, Means it is moving around, flickering, but with some attempt we can focus on something. Like at this point of time, most of you are in this sort of state. So is true with me also. Our mind sometimes wavers here and there, but we are focused on this particular session. That is Vikshipt. Now, Patanjali's educated teaching is to go to the fourth and fifth state. Fifth state is Niruddha state, that is absolutely blank mind. That is what is pertaining to yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. So when you have attained the yoga, you are in the blank state of mind. But he says you don't go direct there from Vikshipt to Niruddhavastha, from the present state of mind to absolutely blank. Then he says intermediate stage is called Ekagya one-pointed state. So what is this one-pointed state? We call it as Dhyan, when Chitta Vritti is just one kind. One still image is there, it doesn't change. So that is what is our definition of meditation. And I would say I don't mind borrowing the term mindfulness for meditation, but I will say again, just like number one, 99.9% of people saying they do yoga, actually they do Hatha yoga. Similarly, 99.9% people saying they do meditation or mindfulness meditation, actually they do what is in our scheme, that is item number three, pertaining to Pratyahara, because mind is functioning. You are listening to a background music, you are listening to some guidance of a meditation teacher in a guided meditation, or you are focused on your breathing, which is a dynamic phenomenon, and so on and so forth. So that is the situation in the present world. And let's go on. Item three, but I think I should have had one more item in between. I will call it 2A, probably, which is not mentioned in this slide, but maybe I will review this slide. That I will say somehow in India in the Middle Ages, which is within the last 5,000 years, somehow a concept came that there are different paths to yoga. I don't know how come this stupid idea came. There is only one yoga, but which is Patanjali Yoga, Dhyan Yoga or Raj Yoga, and they called it a Dhyan Yoga, Raj Yoga, and they said there are other yoga like Karm Yoga and Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and all that. That is incorrect. That is not acceptable. The true picture is there is only one yoga that is taught by Patanjali and also by Kapil in Sankhya and in Upanishads, etc. And of course, originates from Vedas. And that is the real yoga. And that yoga requires some knowledge. So it has jnana component. It requires some practice. That's what is abhyas. So there is a component of karma, and it requires some sort of a devotion, Ishwar Pranidhan. So there is a bhakti element, but these are elements, but finally you have to, integrate them properly as Patanjali is teaching. So that should have been item 2A, that there is one and only one yoga, and not, it is incorrect to say that path of karma yoga or jnana yoga or bhakti yoga and all that other different names, they can also lead to the yoga. That is not true. Item 3 here, dhyan is one pointed state, ekagyavastha, whereas upasana requires subduing all Vrttis, that is called niruddhavastha, the fifth state. And of course, Chitta is not understood. That I have seen in my life. I have not seen any book in the world, either in Hindi or in English, that the author has correctly described what Chit is. So that is the situation. People don't know what Chit is, and they are translating from Sanskrit to English, all big books and all that. And where the Vrttis come from, that is from the inner component of minds. I should say outward component, because Chit is the innermost component, and that is not described in, even Chit is not described by Patanjali, not explicitly. Implicitly it is there, but you have to be very smart to get it. And about Chitta Vritti. Where does it come from? Patanjali doesn't talk about it. So that is because already covered in Sankhya by Kapil, and people don't know Sankhya well, and they just write the books on yoga. These are the defects going on. So let me go quickly now. Don't want to spend too much time. So we talked about Onkar Jap. There is a misunderstanding about Jap also. People think I should recite it, but Jap has 4 dimensions. So 4 words are, well, in this particular slide, it is saying the, you know, Jap of this sound, what is called Pranav, is slightly unusual. The sound is unusual because this is not a word. So typically when we are in meditation, we are in ekagyavastha, that is one pointed state of my chitta. So something is being displayed by that vritti, that is the object of interest. So there are 3 things, they are intertwined in that state. The word that reflects that particular object that is called the earth of the word, meaning of the word, and that chitta vritti, that is what makes you know that object. So these are 3 things pertaining to any worldly object, and that is what is chit is being displayed. So chit is part of Vijnan, my course. I told you that there are 5 sheets that cover myself. So this is a journey. If I am in meditation, I have reached inward into my layer, 4th sheet. But as far as this jump of the Pranav sound is concerned, this is, if done properly and is understood properly, then it takes you to inside the 5th dimension, 5th layer, that is called Anandamaya Kosh. So this sound, Pranav sound, is not a word technically. It reflects the meaning that is Ishwar, but it is Ishwar is not supposed to, can never come on your, appear on your chitta, so it requires that Niyuddhavastha. Okay. Here I gave you an example from Mundak Upanishad, the relationship between, or the business of recitation of Pranav sound. That sound is actually Om. This sound has a name, Pranav. Also, the another name is Udgit. Now, this is a picture just to explain the meaning in the Puna Mundak Upanishad. The sound is treated as a bow. Myself, my Purush is the arrow, and the yoga is the business, is the objective. I want to be in the lap of that supreme being who is called as Ishwar as well as Brahma. So I want to be united with him. Of course, when you when you let the arrow proceed further, then you are no more on the bow. So that is kind of telling you that this Pranav sound is also an instrument, a vehicle, but you will have to disengage from it to finally be in yoga. If you are just going citing, then it doesn't work. So as far as our scheme is concerned, in Pratyaha, in step number 3, we recite it orally. And then in Dharana, step number 4, our suggestion is mental recitation. And when that mental recitation is one-pointed, then you are in meditation, step number 5. And when that also vanishes and there is nothing on your chitta, then you are in samadhi. That is the final state. And that is our objective. Okay, I told you this is very interesting two-liner that Vyasa has pointed out. Yogen yogo jatavyo. So by practice of yoga, you learn yoga. So learning yoga, the theoretical aspects of yoga is not that simple. Just by learning, attending such a course is helpful, but this itself is not enough. Theory and practice must go hand in hand. So that is what he's saying, that when you practice yoga, then you get better insights and then you will understand. Then he talks about practice part, yoga yogat pravartate. What he means is your practice also becomes more proficient when you practice it more. So there is no substitute. You have to do this, what Patanjali is teaching. Then one yo apramattastu yogain one who is not lazy, one who is not doing this practice every day in a proper manner, sa yoge ramate chayam, he will be in yoga forever. For, then that is what is a person is upasak, then he is always there. But if you practice, you succeed, and then you are bound to be there. Okay, importance of this course. There are 4 pillars of this course. I will say foundations. The chit has been very correctly, accurately described when buddhi functions in its latent state, is in a very quiet mode. Otherwise, buddhi is doing reasoning, discrimination. So when you have to calm it down, then you are no more reasoning. You are further, now it is in the chit state, and further all the images appear from the chit, then that is what is your objective. Then first time we are saying Vrttis are appearing on chit. This is coming from Samkhya. They of course come from live, from sensory organs. Like I am speaking, you are hearing. So my words are approaching to your chitta or buddhi, whatever you call it, because you are processing it. So better term is buddhi at this point. So your buddhi captures my words and makes a meaning out of it, etc. This is the one way our buddhi displays something to us. Sometimes we are not that careful, like I gave the example, we are in sleep, but then it is playback. So something is coming from our memory or from our storehouse where all kinds of data is there, and in dream it is just playback. So as you know, probably now you are practicing meditation. So in the very first stage, we are mentally citing this sound, but some other image comes, which we don't want. We are helpless, but we want to calm it down further so that no other. So this is, I will call it as playback mode, and we will see where it is coming from, where is all the data. So that unit or component of mind is called Ankar by Kapil in Sankhya. Patanjali's prescription is actually threefold. That I have not seen any book on yoga who has understood that Patanjali is giving threefold prescriptions for 3 categories of people. And they are, his prescription is yoga, kriya yoga, and ashtanga. And people just use one statement here and refer to somewhere else. They have no idea what kind of person is entitled for the path of yoga, who are the people who should practice kriya yoga, and who are the people who should practice ashtanga yoga. So these are details which nobody has understood well, and they are just writing commentaries on Patanjali. Then there has been a great thing about 100 years ago, more than that. Maharishi Dayanand, he, he brought out a scheme based on Ashtanga. But in Dharana, which is step number 4, he said that the chosen Vrtti, otherwise Patanjali gives you all kinds of freedom in his Ashtanga Yoga. But what Dayanand does is, in Ashtanga Yoga, he borrows Ashtanga Yoga and he says it is relevant for everybody. So now you just don't have to worry about what scheme to follow. You simply follow Ashtanga Yoga. And in Ashtanga Yoga, in step number 4, what is called Dharana concentration, his suggestion is mental excitation of the sound pranam. And then it takes care of all the aspects. Even if you are in the 3rd category, you will move on to 2nd category, to Kriya Yoga. You will not know it, but you will go to the final objective of yoga. Of course, practical aspect, I think the scheme we are teaching in this particular course is easiest, simplest, and is most authentic, that we call as Ash Paddhati. Okay, every human being can do the Upasana. It is very simple. But, and of course, we are trying to say, it's like every child succeeds in approaching to his mother and father. Nobody has to teach that child. So in the same manner, I think basically every human being can do it. It's so simple. And of course, theory requires some more training. If you are If you just understand the practice, you follow these steps, you will succeed in Upasana. Then I tried to say historically, you know, because there are 4 terms in Vedas, Jnana, Karma, and Upasana and Vijnana. Knowledge, action, and Upasana and intuitive knowledge, so to say. Then I tried to say that in ancient Indian history, we somehow missed out on Upasana. That's what was the business of Sankhya and Yoga. Then we came to knowledge side, and Nyaya and Vaisheshik came there. And when we slipped downward, further downslide, then we came on the Karma side. That's what Mimamsa was, that we do actions in accordance with the Vedic message. But then somebody asked, why should we follow Vedas, even though it is revealed knowledge? Then Vedanta came into picture, that it is from Brahma and we should not disregard it. So I look at it, the age of Shad-darshan, which is 6 books of Vedic philosophy, from this in this particular perspective. And this applies to an individual's personal development also. We should do proper karma, which is the dharma, not religion, righteous conduct. If we are doing always right karma, and then add on the knowledge part about Sankhya and Yoga, such as this particular course, and then get some into practice of Upasana, and then we will have certain insights that will guide us in our day-to-day life. So this is a threefold ladder to rise in your personal development. Okay, then we talked about Sankhya diagram, which I will talk today also. And let's proceed further now. Then we mentioned about this Pranav sound. So there is a misunderstanding here. Typically, the sound is Om, which is coming from throat and ends with the lips. But the Pranav sound should take this first vowel slightly longer, what is called Plut sound. So that's why we suggest it should originate from the navel region. Then it will be like, so the one which is just typical Om is like Om. And when I say this Pranav sound, where O is extended, this will be coming from the navel, then it will be like O. And then there are 4 stages. The one I just now recited is called Vekhayi, like oral recitation. Then Madhyama is whispering sound. That will be like only the next person sitting to me can hear. Then we are saying mental recitation, that is Pashyanti. And finally, when that gets lost and you are in this, what is the meaning of this sound? You are lost in Anandamaya Kosh. That is the final 4th stage. Okay, next few sessions, what is our plan? We will look at mind in Sankhya, that constitutes 3 components, Buddhi, Ahamkara, and Man, that we will see today. I am translating them into English as Buddhi as intellect, that is discrimination, Ankara as a storehouse, all kinds of our data that is stored there, and Manas as linkage, that is links with the 5 sensory organs and 5 motor organs. So next is again, I show you the Sankhya diagram that I showed you last time. So this is me, the leftmost circle, called as self or Purush in a technical term by Kapil as well as Patanjali. Now we are blessed with what we call overall as mind, or our which has 3 components. This is intellect. It is also called as Mahat. Mahat I have translated as great principle, and intellect is the translation for Buddhi. Then the next unit is Ahamkara. I am translating as a storehouse, as in a functional manner, because it contains all kinds of my previous data. This is Kapil's word is Manas. I am translating it as linkage. Then when in acquisition of knowledge, so in the session number 1, we have seen Purush has three extraordinary powers: to gain knowledge and to activate the surroundings by way of action. So knowledge and action, knowledge is incoming, action is outgoing. And sometimes what the knowledge that ends up here, this is a terminal point for the knowledge. And if I if I sort of I capture it, or what should I say, I embrace it, then it becomes my experience. So that is not automatic, but we will talk about it. And that is what is called bhog. So Jnana, Karma, and bhog, these were three pursuits of three extraordinary powers of myself. So Jnana is terminal point is here. And if I get so much attached to it and embrace it, then it becomes experience. Otherwise, it is just displaying the knowledge. And if I do a decision making, as we will see today, and then I activate, I give a command outwardly, and it goes here to the Ankara unit, and then it further activates my linkage unit or passes on command here. Then my Manas linkage unit can activate 5 motor organs. Now this arrow is big because I can do multitasking here. Whereas incoming knowledge, it is one at a time, and that's why the arrow, blue arrow, is thin, and the knowledge picked up by one of the 5 sensory organs, such as my sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, that is picked up by linkage unit and Ankar, and then is displayed here. This is you can imagine as a screen, like I am on a laptop and I am looking at a screen. So imagine somewhere in our head region, you are sitting as a tiny point, and your very first contact to the world is through this screen, and that is what is called Buddhi as well as Chit. It has 2 names, and later part of the course, we will get to know it, why Buddhi and Chit, we have to refer to it in by 2 terms, why one term is not enough. So typically it is Buddhi for a common human being, but those who are in practice of Patanjali Yoga, they they have to be slightly aware of the fact that the difference between Buddhi and Chit, but it is the same instrument. Okay, so we have seen it. It's a knowledge acquisition mode and action mode, and this is where multitasking, and here one at a time. And let's proceed further. Now I am showing you second chapter of Samkhya, some selected verses. Some selected verses to give you an idea what he is describing about our inner instruments of mind. So first is statement number 13. His statement is Adhyavasaro Buddhi. Its English translation I am doing in a very simple manner. Buddhi I am translating as intellect. It basically discriminates. That is the meaning of outside. Outside, those who know the Sanskrit and Hindi words, we have a common word, vyavasai. That is what is our business, profession. So Buddhi, that is what it does. Its business is to discriminate, right and wrong. This is that or this. This is a rose flower and not marigold. This is a desk and not a chair. So that every moment we see something and listen to something, and we kind of discriminate what it is and what it is not. So that is the power of Buddhi. There is a prefix here, Adi. Adi means it has the authority. It is an autonomous system. It does not require assistance of any other systems or any other subsystem. It is fully empowered to do its business. The business is like eyes, business of eyes is to see. Business of Buddhi is to tell me what actually is appearing on my screen that I call as Buddhi, as much as it can. Then secondly, it has another business. It determines dharma. Tat karyam dharmadi. Means what I ought to do. So that was incoming knowledge direction. Now, once that event, if I am walking in a garden, I see a flower, say a rose flower, my buddhi tells me this is a rose flower, it smells good. Then I want to say benefit from its fragrance. So I get closer, I walk closer. So then I decide, I want to benefit from its fragrance, but I don't want to bake the flower, pluck it out, because that won't be quite fair. So, I decide what I want to do. And Buddhi is capable of telling me, guiding me, what is the righteous conduct at this point, that I should not bake the flower, but I can go closer to it and enjoy its fragrance. That is called dharma, not to be misinterpreted as illusion or any such thing. Dharma is what I ought to do, which will be universally applauded. Nobody will object to it. Everybody will say, yes, what you did was right. But we know in the world there are many people who do wrong things, that is called adharma, opposite of dharma. So that also comes from their buddhi. So Kapil is trying to say in the statement number 15, Mahat Upayagad. Now he is not using the word buddhi here, he is using the word Mahat, because you are using it for the wrong purpose, wrong direction. Mahat Upayagad Vipitam. So the same instrument can guide you in the opposite direction also, due to certain upayag, due to certain contaminants. Some impurities have gathered in your buddhi that you are responsible for. You have done something wrong. Just like your skin has a lot of dust. Now it doesn't show things properly, isn't it? So you are not wiping it clean. So in the same manner, your buddhi skin is not pure now. You have not taken good care of it, and it is guiding you towards other. Otherwise, it is capable of guiding you towards dharma. Now comes the next unit, as you remember in this diagram. Now we are talking about Ankara. I will devote some time, because for last few centuries there has been a lot of misunderstanding about it, and that's why people didn't understand where the Chittavritti are originating from. So Ahamkara, those of you who are familiar with Indian languages, they know it. This is a word which is very common in India, which means a sense of pride, ego, and all that, which is not quite a positive thinking. But here, this is a rishi. When he uses a word, you have to apply correct etymological meaning. That is the beauty of the Sanskrit language, that every word, the meaning of the word is hidden within it, because it is referring to a particular root. And so, there is a particular meaning of that word, and you cannot get away from that. Nobody can show ignorance about that. So if you know the grammar slightly, you can find out. So Ankar is a compound word. That's the way we will look at it. Another word, I can write many words or say many words that some of you may understand. Kumbhakar, that is a one who makes earthen pot. Kumbham karoti iti kumbhakar. Swarnkar, Swern is gold. One who makes gold jewelry is called as Swarnkar. So this is a compound word where first term is a noun and second term is a verb coming from karoti, means what one does something, what somebody makes. So Charmkar, a cobbler, one who makes shoes out of charm, means skin of an animal he makes, is called a charmkar, and Hindi word is chamar. So Kumbhakar, Hindi word is kumhar. Swarnkar, we say it's Swarnkar. So those who have understood these examples, they will know it. And even otherwise, this is a compound word. Here the word first term is aham, means myself. Kar, so one who makes myself, that unit is called ahamkar. Does it mean? So all of us assembled here, we are all human beings. We are all alike. We have the same buddhi. Of course, somebody has, maybe put some contaminant. Otherwise, more or less our instrument is same, our car is same, our eyes, ears, two hands, two legs, everything all are alike, but we are all very different person. Why are we different? Because all our ideas, opinions, our memories, past data is different. Where is that stored? That is stored in Ahamkara because my data makes me what I am. That is my Aham, my I-ness. So I am, what is my views, what are my opinions, what is my knowledge content, what are all kinds of karmas I have already committed, done, performed. So, and all my likes and dislikes. So, all my past knowledge, jnana, all my past actions, karma, and that's why I am proficient in driving, but somebody is less proficient in driving because he has had less number of driving lessons or whatever it is. So, all these Jnana, karma, and bhog, all this knowledge, action, and experience, all in the past, their impressions are lying in this unit. So that's why we translate it as storehouse. And that is the correct translation. And that's what he is. Now, coming to the statement number 16 of Kapil, the problem is further getting compounded because he's saying Ankar develops Abhimaan. Now, in the Indian languages today, Ankar means ego and pride, and Abhiman means the same thing. So there is a multiplicity of misunderstanding. Now, again, here, Abhiman word has to be understood properly, and that's what I am trying to say in the next slide. Abhiman, Abhi is what is called prefix and upsarg, and the authority here is Nayukta. He writes about 20 prefixes and he says, what are they doing? So, Abhi, he says, Abhi itya abhimukhyam. What if when we use Abhi, it means the word ahead of it is its importance is being enhanced, you know. So, it is enhancement of the importance of the word. What is the word ahead of it? Is man. Now, what is the word man? That has to be understood. So, Panini grammar, dhatu part, root ma is to measure, ma mane means to measure, to weigh, to inherit something. So, other familiar terms from this root with different prefixes. Praman is evidence, Saman is uniformity, Viman is specialty, V upsarg is Vishesha, Vishishtarth. Nirman, implicit authority means you have made something in as per the design. Anuman is similarity, Upaman is derivative. So something there is a standard thing that has been measured and you have made out of another thing. So likewise, Abhiman would mean I have made a copy of what actual Vrtti on Buddhi is. Storehouse makes its copy and stores it for future reference, and that is what builds up your aham, your personality, and that is why it is called Ankara unit. I am sorry to say, all the big authors they have also translated Ankara as ego, etc., and it doesn't help anybody. So correct interpretation of Abhiman, again one more slide devoted to Abhiman. For in day-to-day life, we are familiar with 1 meter length. So you have at your home, say measuring tape, which is 1 meter. How do you rely on it? What is it standard? The standard is one particular metal bar in a laboratory in Paris. That actually is 1 meter. So if somebody thing has been calibrated or it conforms to that, that is 1 meter. Your measuring tape will show it. So this is standard. And if you have used that standard, then your tape is Abhiman of, it is the impression of the standard. So Abhiman Vrtti on Ahankar is correct impression is made in Ahankar. What is the standard is Buddhi Vrtti. So what is appearing on Buddhi? For future appearance, Ahankar routinely maintains makes a copy and catalogs it so that when you need it. So today, if you measure, if you see a rose flower again, which you have seen umpteen number of times in your life, then you don't take much long time. As soon as you see it from your Ankara unit, all the images of previous rose flowers come and you compare it. It comes, you get other flowers also, like say marigold and tulip and others. But you quickly say that this present flower is matching very well with the past images of the rose flower. Hence, this particular flower that I am observing now is a rose flower. How much time it takes for you? You do it in nanoseconds or much less than that. That's how things go so fast in our mind. The data transfer is at a gigantic rate, maybe even faster than the speed of light. That's the beauty of our mind. So we have learned reasonable. So talking about Ankar, these are impatience in a storehouse. This can pertain because that's where the story started. Session number 1, we said, my Purush has extraordinary powers of knowledge, action, and experience. So in Buddhi, whatever that is real-time knowledge, real-time experience, and real-time action. But once it is in the past, it doesn't fully get lost. Its impressions are lying there. So past knowledge, just 3 more words are coming. If you are familiar, it's okay. Past knowledge is called smriti, memory, so to say. Past experience is called as vasana, some sort of our desires and passion, or it can be negative also. So there is some dislikes and likes, both are there. Past action is called sanskar. That is how you are conditioning your mind. So when you have driving lessons, lesson 1, lesson 2, so those impressions are, getting stronger and stronger. One more time. So that is conditioning of mind. So 10 years later, you are an expert driver because now your mind is so much conditioned. Because in your Ankara unit, the whole business of driving has been programmed very well. Now you are driving your car and talking to your neighbor on a highway, and you are almost in autopilot, isn't it? So then that is what we will call it, actions from subconscious mind. So we will understand, certain actions originate from buddhi, that is your conscious mind, you take a decision, but then certain actions are so routine, your subconscious mind, basically your ankar, takes care of it, and your buddhi is still available for, conscious thinking. You are in discussion with somebody and you are walking, these are some of the things. So, Kapil's model is Samkhya. Wonderful. It explains all that our mind does. Okay, going further, we have covered 4 Samkhya statements, maybe one more. This is second chapter. We are confining to second chapter, that is on mind. So this is 33. Earlier we did 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now I am jumping to 33. But this is very important. The statement is at the bottom actually. Avidya, oh, I am sorry. It's on the sideline. Vittaya Panchtaya, second point 33, where my cursor is moving. Vittaya Panchtaya, Klista Aklista. So the Vrttis on Citta or Buddhi are of 5 categories. And also, they are in 2 groups, what is called Klist and A-Klist. So there are more technical terms are coming. One technical term is here called Klesa. And let me first read out this paragraph. Vrttis can be classified into 5 categories. You know, we will not go into that detail when we go to yoga, because the same statement is appearing in yoga first chapter, 5th statement. So we will meet this statement again. Then I will go in more detail. But at this point, just trying to sort out a few issues here. So there are 5 categories. These 5 categories will be understood when we come to Patanjali Yoga. And furthermore, have their origin in Klesha or without Klesha. So now there are 2 more groups. All the Vrttis have 2 possibilities. Either they originate from Klesh, then it is called Klist. And if it is not originating from Klesh, then it is called Aklist. Now, Klesh is a new technical term that we will tentatively uh, describe as some sort of hindrance, because we are born in this world because we inherit some sort of clash. So as long as there is clash, we cannot be liberated. So from liberation point of view, this is a hindrance. So that can be translated. But here again, the problem is this is a common word in India, even in our present languages, and that gives rise to a great misunderstanding. And that's what I'm writing in 2 lines here in English. So first is first error that most of the commentators have made is the Klist Vrtti, they say this gives birth to Klesh, rather than, actually Kapil and Patanjali mean Klist Vrtti means those who have taken birth from Klesh. So here I give the commentary by Vyas, Klesh Hetuka, that is called Klista. What he means is Klist Vrtti is that has taken birth from Klesh, and not that this has given birth to Klesh. So this is first error, first wrongdoing modern commentators. Most of them have done. Second, they have done because this is a common word. Common word in Indian languages. Klesh means something unwanted, undesirable, or you can say pain and misery or suffering, what is called dukh. So they have said that Klesh Tveti is giving rise to Klesh, and Klesh means dukh. So one that gives you pain is called Klesh Tveti. So that is a wrong translation. I think half of the books are talking like this. So please be aware of it. Klishtveti means those Chittaveti, they are originating from Klesh, and Klesh does not mean pain. Klesh is further described by Patanjali in second chapter, Avidya Asmita Yagve. So we will discuss all this slightly later. So in principle Klesh is avidya, wrong knowledge. So you can tentatively you can imagine Klesh is some sort of misconception, misunderstanding. And because we have some misconceptions that give rise to some sort of a pops out Vetti that is called Klist Vetti. And we have a good understanding that gives rise to a Klist Vetti. So these are, but again, Klist or Aklist, they have 5 categories that we'll discuss. Now, when it comes to Klesh, now because it has something to do with Bhog, when why the knowledge becomes Bhog, I described it because you embrace it. When do you embrace it? When it originates from Klesh. So we will read it out. The former, the Klist, the Vrttis that are taking birth from Klesh are going to give rise to uh, because they will be processed by law of karma. So those, and they have been processed by law of karma. So that karma will be stored, what is called, every karma gives rise to a reward, but not immediately. There is a gestation period. So that during the gestation period, karma is residing somewhere. That is called a vessel and a storing of karma. So this is a English translation of, but then Vyas is using the word karmashay. So I am translating it as a vessel where karma is stored tentatively until it's ripening. When that ripening is called as karma vipak, and the third stage is karma phal. Now you eat the reward, so you eat the fruits of the karma, and that becomes your bhog. So now you understand one thing, that Abhi Buddhi Vritti does not become, that is Jnana Vritti, that brings a knowledge to you, but it does not automatically becomes your bhog. It becomes your bhog if it originated due to your klesh. So that is another way to look at it. Now he's saying A-Klista Vritti, like you are trying to learn something, teachings of Kapil and Patanjali, and this is not because of klesh. So these are A-Klista Vritti, and if you make good use of it, then it can give rise to Vivek Khyati. Vivek Khyati is ultimate discrimination that a human being can achieve, that my Purush and my Buddhi are two different entities. So that is what is Niruddhavastha of Chitta. So that is what is the objective of Sankhya and Yoga, to self-realization, to see who am I in when I am, when my chit is blank, then I get to know who I am. And that is called ultimate final discrimination, called Vivek. So images on the what is called Citta, where they are called as Vrttis, they give birth to sanskar because their copies are made, and that sanskar give birth to the new images. This applies to both Klista and A-Klista Vrttis. So there is a cyclic phenomena, like you are learning something from Sankhya and Yoga. So that is appearing on your Chitta as a Vritti, that is stored in your Ankara unit, that becomes sanskar. So even when this session is over, something will come in your mind. So chitta vritti becomes sanskar, and sanskar gives rise to chitta vritti again. So this is how you want to make progress in something. So we have been given a powerful instrument. We should use it properly. Okay, I think this is time to say the second session gets over here. So this is my pleasure to wind up. Okay, now we can devote, as we did in the past two sessions. I will set my timer for 10 minutes this time and quickly go through this. Please, objective is, this is everybody is familiar with, deep dreamless sleep, sushupti. So bear in mind that is your objective, that when you want to close your eyes, do meditation practice as per this scheme. Your objective is that. If you know your objective and if you are determined, you will definitely get to it. And that will be Niruddhavastha, because the mind is blank in that deep, dreamless sleep. So that is Sushupti, that we have been a gift of the nature as a default, we have got it. But now why we want to create a replica of that by practice. Set the timer for, I will urge all of you to be kindly mute, so we will have absolute silence, except for my case. And when my phone rings, that will be the end of 10 minutes. So step 1, 2, and 3 are very simple. They are called as outer yoga, Bahyang yoga by Patanjali. So first is discipline your body in a comfortable posture. So you want to be carefree from your body, disconnect from your body, and he uses the word Sthir Sukham Asanam. And those two features are, your body should be unwavering and in a comfortable posture. Just take a good comfortable posture and be in most comfortable situations. That is step number 1. Step 2 is to discipline our breathing, pranayam. We will do 3 cycles, deep breathe out. So we will activate our abdomen. So as I breathe out, abdomen will shrink inward. And once the breathe out is over, that is called Rechak, if you know the term, then we will do deep breathe in, the abdomen will expand outward. So this will be 1 cycle. We will repeat it 3 times. So 3 cycles of deep breathing, 2 phases, deep breathe out through the nostrils and deep breathe in through the nostrils again. That will be step number 2. We'll take a pause for a few seconds. Then I will announce step 3, that is oral recitation of this sound. Oh. We'll do it 3 times, but in your daily practice, you may do, as long as you like it. That helps you go into meditative mode. Then we enter into inner part of yoga, Antang Yoga, as Patanjali calls it. Step 4 is dharana. So we carry forward from 3 to 4 the recitation, but now it is mental recitation. So mental recitation of this sound is our what is called chosen image. The technical term of Patanjali is pratyay. So the chosen image is mental recitation of this sound. But we admit it in number 4, this will be haphazard. Some other images may interrupt it. We know it. But that is where the struggle comes. Please bear in mind that our objective is the upasana, deep blank mind. So we don't want to get away from this particular chosen image. That is what I want to be hooked to. So if anything else comes, you come back to mental recitation of this sound. If this mental recitation of the sound becomes uninterrupted, of course, there is no thought, nothing there, absolutely blank, and you are just lost in this sound, then it is called meditation and mindfulness. And then, if you have good luck, maybe for some moments, even this disappears and nothing else appears on your chitta, then you are in blank skin, and that was our objective. So these were the steps. I am now 10 minutes. Timer is on now. Let's take a nice posture, comfortable posture. Like I like to remove my glasses, just disconnect from everything. Now step number 2, 3 cycles of deep breathing. Here it begins. Deep breathe out, abdomen shrinking inward. Deep breathe in, abdomen expanding outward. The cycle number 2, deep breathe out, deep breathe in, the third and final. Breathe out, breathe in, now we are taking a pause for a reason that I am not concerned with my body nor with my breathing anymore. I am further inward into, I have crossed through the Annamaya Kosh and Pranamaya Kosh, body layer and pranic layer. Now I am functioning in Manomaya Kosh as I will recite the sound. So that will be also outer yoga. And then when I carry on with the mental recitation of sound, I will be in Vijnanamaya Kosh. And my objective would be to enter into Anandamaya. So that is the journey, inward journey through these 5 layers. So step 3 pertains to Manomaya Kosh, where my manas is activating my motor organ of speech. Let's recite the sound 3 times. Here it begins. Om. 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 Okay, that was our meditation. We can devote next few minutes on question answers. Any question from what we have discussed today or what we have covered previously?
आचार्य जी वैसे बड़ा प्रिमिटिव सवाल है, जैसे एक चित्त वृत्ति निरोध से सारा योग जुड़ा है और वही चित्त वृत्ति जो है वो बुद्धि वृत्ति हो जाती है अगर हम उसको डिस्क्रिमिनेशन आदि। तो जागते हुए आज ऐसे ही विचार आया कि जब हम ऐसे बैठे होते हैं, हम कुछ देख रहे हैं, टीवी देख रहे हैं, मगर हमारे मन में कुछ और विचार भी चल रहे हैं और जो कि वो इमेजेस नहीं है जो कि चित्त वृत्ति जिन्हें कहा जाए, तो आते वो भी अहंकार से हैं, मगर वो इंस्टेड ऑफ औचित वो बुद्धि का विषय है। मतलब बड़ा माइन्यूट सा, बड़ा फाइन डिफरेंस सा लगता है ये।
Okay, the question pertains to, since it came in Hindi, might as well translate into English. The question is, say we are in meditation practice, but some idea comes in mind. And now we are entertaining that idea. So of course, the idea is it is a buddhi vritti. Now you are functioning at, say you are planning something. Now you are functioning at buddhi vritti level, buddhi level. So the whole practice of Patanjali Yoga is, as we saw, outer yoga and inner yoga. The inner yoga begins from chitta only. You know, if you are functioning at buddhi level, then you are in outer yoga. You know, so if you are thinking, if you are planning, if you are that you know it, it's not just one image. You know, so that's why it is so important to understand chitta, buddhi, vritti, and all these issues. Otherwise, you will be misguided. So that's why in this particular course, we are taking time. But today we have learned what buddhi is, what it does, etc., etc. And now, in a couple of weeks later, we will learn why Patanjali uses the term chitta vritti and not buddhi vritti. So, of course, yoga is, first is the operations of buddhi must come down to the chitta level. And now even the chitta vritti has to vanish. So if you are thinking, that's what I was saying, you know, if you go in the outside world, mainstream, there is a guided meditation, all sorts of things are going on. Now the teacher is saying something and you are listening. There is a sentence. If you are trying to comprehend that sentence, you are in buddhi vritti. You are not in chitta vritti. So this is a heightened state of buddhi functioning. And the person thinks he is doing meditation. And teacher also thinks he is teaching meditation. So, you know, of course, you are in silence, you are relatively, mind is not agitated. So even that silence will bring some benefit, but it should not be interpreted as meditation, you know. So that's why it is very important to understand the semantics of buddhi, chitta, vritti, and where does it come from, why does it happen. Then we go to functional buddhi state like this vikshipt. Now I am talking and you are listening. We are functioning at the buddhi level, is it not? So this has to vanish. But then still chitta will depict something. Like I said, in dream state or for meditation practitioner, you know, we want to get away from all the images, but you must have noticed something comes up, is it not? It is popping out from Ankar, unwanted. We are helpless, but that is what is training we want to give to our Ahamkara, that look, when I want to go in meditation, I want you to be quiet. That's the training, like you being a new dog, you have to train it, is it not? So now you have to train your mind. Look, I want to do 10 minutes, 20 minutes meditation. And in those moments, after the oral recitation of this sound, I want nothing. But tentatively, I have a hook. The hook is mental recitation of the sound. So I will hold on to that so that nothing else appears there. So the idea of this dharana and dhyan is to have one image so that any other image does not come. And this particular image is what Patanjali is guiding. Tasya vachaka pranav tad japas tad bhavana. So we are following overall teachings of Patanjali. Now, from dharana to dhyan, if you have no other image, your dhyan is now, I will say that is a very good progress you have made. And I will say in this course, if you are really honest to yourself, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you should reach that stage.
Acharya-ji,
Yes, please.
even now, I mean, I'm doing that, but every time it is, my experience is that every time a vritti which appears while we are in trying to do the meditation, vritti appears from Ahankar, some message or something, some image or some idea which I have been thinking before comes on my Citta, and then Buddhi gets involved. And then after, God knows, after how
something
long,
comes,
yeah,
and
I get involved in that.
Actually, don't take it personally. These many years of life, we have been very smart, using our intellectual power. So this has become our habit. Anything appears on Buddhi, I want to process it. So every moment we are using our time in our intellectual functions. So now, as a learner of Patanjali Yoga meditation, suddenly a new thing has happened, that this is my most powerful tool, most powerful asset, instrument, but I don't want to use it. So this is where the training comes. So like last week also, you described your own method of practice. Then I gave you a suggestion that, okay, 30 minutes, you do whatever you do, but next 30 minutes, you be more focused on this particular scheme, isn't it?
It has worked, Acharya-ji. It has worked.
I am sure you will, in a few weeks, you will find it when you are so determined. Otherwise, like a child, you are very curious. Something has appeared on your image and you begin to entertain it, is it not?
Yeah.
So you have to tell yourself, I have 24 hours to do all this. This particular time slot, I want to genuinely end up in a particular location. That is where I am residing. That is what is my innermost cave. I want to go there, and the condition is I can go alone. Elsewhere in the world, I can go with my mind, but not there. And then you tell your mind, look, what do? You take me to all places, to sources of pleasure and joy, isn't it? Now I have found, or somebody has told me, there is innermost joy of a very different kind. So why don't you cooperate with me? That is what is Anandamaya course. So you have to now have a dialogue with your mind that you take me to so many places to increase my level of happiness, and now let me practice this. If I go to Anandamaya course, maybe something is happening. I want to know it. So, you have to somehow
Mhm.
Tame your mind, so to say.
So yeah, at that time.
Acharya ji, आज today for the first time, I mean, maybe I missed it. I mean, you just briefly said that during meditation or to start meditation, we should try and control even the Ahankar. Whereas I believe the Purush is only attached to Buddhi. And, we are trying to only control the Chitta part that don't fetch, which the role of Chitta is to fetch Vrttis. And Vrttis are being created by the sanskars non-stop. So is it possible that we stop that process for some time? That word ullas, the Vrttis, ullasat.
Yeah, that will come next week, that statement. But this is the business of mind, buddhi, and chitta. Like you are having your, say, this is our day-to-day life. We are aware of such things. You are busy with something, and suddenly you call, oh, I had to make a phone call to my daughter or to my friend or something like that. Is it not? So that is what your chit is reminding you, is it not? And you yourself, I think in another our meeting, you said that sometimes we go to bed, we're saying that, with a kind of determination that I want to wake up at 6 in the morning. And it sometimes, that's the way, if you have practiced enough, then this is the tuning you have. This is the harmony between you and your mind, that slightly around 6 o'clock, you wake up yourself without an alarm clock, is it not? So many of these things we are familiar in our day-to-day life. So Chit is something which retrieves data from Ankar in background. It is doing it non-stop. But it is not that it must do it. Let's talk about sleep. If Chit is always bringing data, then we are in dreams. That is not a good sleep, is it not? So when you begin to say this kind of meditation practice, so I will say 3-4 weeks later, some of you will feel, okay, my sleep quality is better now. It is less dreams now. What does less dreams mean? Your chit is now calm when you go to bed. And that will mean when you sit for meditation, your chit will be relatively calm. It is less likely to bring retrieve images from Ahamkara. So, your sleep quality and your meditation quality go hand in hand, but you have to be determined. This is so important, that I want to make progress. And you don't give up, and you follow the right scheme,
Yeah, I
That
have
is
one
so
follow-up.
important.
So
So
I have one
That is
follow-up
what
question.
Patanjali is saying. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Pajya. So, you have to have faith. This is not blind faith, what Patanjali is saying. He's saying you have to tentatively accept that Patanjali is right. Because if you don't accept Patanjali is right, then you don't have the motivation to follow his steps.
no, Acharya ji,
So
one
when he
more
says
thing.
so
So
you
I
have
have
to
one.
practice.
Yeah, can
Yes,
I have
please.
a follow-up question? What I
Just
understand. Okay,
just
you go
put
ahead.
it. Acharya
Go,
ji,
go.
what I wanted to convey other thing is that it is only the chit that we can control for meditation, but the vrittis which are being manufactured through by sanskar in our ahankar, we cannot stop them from being created. It is only the chit that we can request or train not to fetch it during the time of meditation.
I think we mean the same thing. It depends how do you say it.
No, no,
Okay.
There is a
no,
ocean of thing in Ankara, and Chit is by its very business, it's always retrieving something. Probably it does it what is it considers more important for you. So it knows what my master likes it. It brings that kind of information that time. Look, this is time for you to call your friend. He is reminding you because this is what he thinks. Or this is, let's go to a restaurant in the evening. Probably you like something and your chit is coming out with this suggestion, things like that, out of the blue, some idea is coming from Chitta. But when it comes to meditation practice, the very business of Chitta retrieving the data is like your personal secretary who always puts a file on your desk, because he thinks my boss should make a review and take a decision. He's always saying your desk is clean. He brings a file on your desk, is it not? But
So,
now you tell your secretary
Marvelous example.
that I am now learning into another practice and I want my desktop clean.
hmm.
Of
So
course, he will
actually,
take time to understand it. So Chitta, that's how he's geared, to always retrieve something from Ankara and display it to you, so much so that even in sleep he is doing that. But in meditation, when you are determined, and that's why, in our scheme, I am writing certain arrows. If step 4 is not going in step 5,
Go
you
back.
go back to step 2, you go back to step 3, but don't give up. If step 4, you are just struggling there for long, then go to 2, 3, 4 again, that make a loop. That way your chitta will know it, that you don't approve what he is doing again and again. He will get tired. He knows now that my master is not interested in anything at this point, whether positive Vrtti or negative, any Klist or Aklist, you don't want anything. You
yeah,
want blank.
so I have one follow-up
I have
question.
a question. Excuse me. I have a question from my friend Vishwanath Kohli. Klesa is misconception. Yes, that's what Patanjali is describing. So Klist Vrtti comes from misconceptions, and Aklist Vrtti comes from is come from the right good knowledge that you have. Like we are learning from teachings of Samkhya and Yoga, that knowledge is also residing in Ankara, is it not? So, that will motivate me to, you are sitting here. Why are you sitting here? Because you have enough motivation to learn from Patanjali and Kapil teaching of, Dhyana-Upasana. So that all that knowledge is also in your Ankara unit, and that will also pop out as a list with. Okay, now Sanjeev ji, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, so sorry for interruption. Actually, I had one question. Actually, it is last week I mentioned this thing. The way I am understanding the Ahankar is a storehouse. It's like I was saying, the hard disk where there are a lot of images stored, or images, videos, whatever is stored, and that is actually coming in the vritti that is on the mind, that you can think like a system memory, right? So then something is pulled from there. But the thing is, even if I do meditation, I go to the mind blank state. I stop things from coming from the hard disk, but those things still stay there. They are not going away. So now the question is how to actually purify it. Because when I'm sleeping, I'm not doing meditation that time. That time definitely things will be pulled out from that thing. How can I have a dreamless sleep when things are already there in hard disk? And unless when I'm doing meditation, I consciously trying to prevent it from coming to my mind, appearing in my mind. That's why my mind becomes blank. But that will not happen when I'm sleeping. Other thing, the question is that how do we actually purify our hard disk? How do we remove the wrong images from our hard disk and purify it to make it to have a better images there?
Okay, there are two parts of the question. First part is the meditation. If we make progress in it, then Chit is less likely to retrieve data from Storehouse, Ankar, but your apprehension is, but all that is still lying in the Storehouse, That's what we have discussed with the Kavindraji's question, that yes, there is nothing wrong if things are lying in the storehouse. Tentatively, let's have that approach, because just now we looked at Vishwanath Kohli's question because Storehouse, that's the business of it, even all the important knowledge and information is also like there, besides the misconceived idea. Now,
Yeah.
of
So
course, at a higher
sorry.
level, so even as we are learning, you certain say misconception, like we talked about Hatha Yoga versus yoga, so this kayak learning itself is removing the misconceived idea.
Mhm.
So as you are learning yoga, now you will learn certain things which probably you picked up from by way of misinformation, Hatha Yoga or other things. So good Vrttis, good learning is always positive, and that will, it's like a gardener weeds out, removes all the unwanted weeds and plants the good seeds. So that is
Yeah.
one way we are doing in our day-to-day life, but at a higher level, in a when we are in advanced proficient meditation person, then we will see a concept, that concept of bij dagdvat. These certain seeds get burned out, then they don't, when once seed is burned, it is no more potent enough. So we look at these two aspects, how to get rid of the unwanted vrittis in our mind. One is to learn
Yeah.
the kayak knowledge, and secondly, and that's what we read today, the last previous session, Yogen Yogo Jata. As you learn, practice more of yoga, the misunderstandings will get removed, is it not?
So the idea is to remove the bad sanskaras and add good sanskaras, right?
Sorry,
Is
I
that
didn't get that.
to get rid of bad sanskaras and put good sanskaras and good images in, and get
Yeah,
rid of
one
bad
is
seeds?
what in the layman term is, I have rewired my mind. So, that is something everybody does it. You know, we all have some wrong notions, wrong ideas. A child may say 2 plus 2 is 5, but then we educate him 2 plus 2 is 4. Then he corrects himself. So this is every human being is doing it. This is at intellectual level, and this is the level we are working in this particular course when we talk all these things.
Yeah. So
But when you
another question I
do,
always have.
but when you do the meditation practice, same thing happens without your knowing, and implicitly, like Maharishi Dayanand describes, Vishwani Dev Savita Duitani Paya. So Vishwani Duitani Paya, the bad content of our mind is removed and good things come in. That also happens by way of meditation.
Okay. So another question is storehouse, this Ankara, where does it live? So we understand that our body consists of trillions of cells. Does it stay in our cells, or where does it stay, this sanskaras? Where actually it's not in the brain, I guess, right? It is probably in the whole the say, trillions of cells that our body consists of stays there. Is it that the correct interpretation? So there has to be some place where this storehouse is
So
located,
at
right?
this point, we are, this Vedic concept of mind is very, very subtle. So, that's why I don't use the terms like hard disk, etc. We are not talking at the brain level. All this is happening in a tiny cave, which is deep inside here in a nanoscale. And these are all, that's why we said these are subatomic particles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, no, I use the hard disk just as a metaphor to understand things, because in hard disk also in computer system we have hard disk
No,
and we have
hard disk
system
is a very
memory.
visible,
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know.
thing. It's
I know it is just a metaphorical. It is not the truth. So I know, understand it is a subatomic level what you're talking about, right? Everything. But still, I was just trying to understand: is it when you nanoscale, is just in the brain, or it is distributed throughout the body? This ahankars.
It is a localized, there is a cave inside. Maybe there is like a needle point. In
Hmm.
that needle point dimension, the Purush is surrounded by those layers of Anandmaya Kosh and Vijnanmaya Kosh and Manomaya.
Okay.
So Manomaya course here is not, even when I say chakshu, I don't mean this chakshu here. I mean in the manas, there is a out inlet port, that is the optical nerves are going to meet there. So these are very subtle points. So even though we have said 5 sensory organs, 5 motor organs, this is not 5, this is not these eyelids, for example. There is, just imagine, there is a needle point like location somewhere here, that in its outer boundary has 5 inlet ports and 5 outlet ports. So that is called chakshu indriya. Chakshu indriya doesn't mean my eyes here.
Yeah. Got it.
So please, you will have to train yourself to think in very, very subtle language. The semantics may be confusing, but that's even in motor organs, the one word is hasta. Hasta somebody may translate as hand, but here the hasta does not mean hand. Here it means an outlet port at the linkage point, which has linked somehow that I can pick up things. That is why we don't call it, translate into English as hand. We call it as manipulation. My ability to manipulate things in the world originates from an outlet port in the manas. And that outlet port is called hasta. So these are very, it takes time to get used to this vocabulary.
Because these concepts are very abstract. That's the problem. Because it's always difficult to understand abstract concepts.
Because you will have to understand that me and my all this, that's how I entered into my mother's womb, and I will depart like this. So the whole Ankara and Manas and these 5 plus 5 ports are kind of eternal, me until I get moksha. So this is not in this body or in this brain. These are all Annamaya and Pranamaya course. But now inside this is what Kapil is saying. And my business is to communicate to you faithfully what Kapil and Patanjali are saying. I don't say you accept it or not, but I will try my best to explain what I understand Kapil is saying or what I understand Patanjali is saying.
No, it's all knowledge, it's all intellectual exercise. It's good to understand these things. I thank you for explaining these concepts.
So this is all called Avishesh. Avishesh in the sense, this is not amenable to our sensory organs. Now, how did he know it? I have no idea.
I have one more question, Acharyaji, if you can take it.
Yes.
You mentioned that Klista Vrittis lead to Karam Phal or Bhog, and Aklishta Vritti leads to Vivek Khyati. So what is the difference between Vivek Khyati and Bhog, and are the Aklishta Vrittis not resulting in experience or Bhog?
Yeah, we will see it in more detail in next few sessions. We are going ahead of ourselves, but tentative answer is, when we appear in this world, we bring some element of Klesh with us. And we'll see in Patanjali Yoga 2nd chapter, that the reason I am born in this world is because I am inflicted with some avidya. And avidya is the principal Klesh which gives rise to the next 4, Rag, Dvesh, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh, Abhinivesh. We are not going into those details. That's why I said ignorance. Ignorance, I again emphasized, it is wrong knowledge and not lack of knowledge. So we are all inflicted with some misconceptions, which is called avidya. And that is why we come into this world. Now, liberation is to remove all this. Now, that is something we will talk in detail. Now, also we have in our data bank, in our storehouse, a lot of kayak knowledge, We have it. We are inheriting from our previous life, from the current life. So we have a lot of correct knowledge and we have some misconceived ideas. Now, the misconception, avidya, as I said, gives rise to rag and dvesh. So rag is our likes and dvesh is our dislikes. So in day-to-day life, somebody, we are all common people. We like some tea, coffee, or something to eat, something to drink. We all have certain likes and dislikes, is it not? Now, likes and dislikes, likes gives rise to sukh, dislikes give rise to dukh. And that's why we avoid dislikes and we prefer to go to likes. So this is the whole business of sukh and dukh. Now he's saying, when we prefer to go towards sukh, then I am being guided by rag, my past impressions of that bhog, And when I intend to get away from dukh, I am being driven by dvesh, that I want to get away from something that caused pain to me in past. So he will say, Sukhanushayi raga, Dukhanushayi dvesh. All these statements will come in the later part of the course. Now, the thing is, so it all started with avidya. You got into some more clash like rag and dvesh. Due to rag, you are trying to get some sukh experience, so that will be definitely Klishtveti, because that's why you are going to that particular restaurant to enjoy the food, isn't it? So Klishtveti is coming out of Klesh, which you will not just let it be a knowledge, you want it to become bhog. That's why you are pursuing that, is it not? So that will, that will become, you go there, that is a karm, that karm will give karmashaya and give karm phal, and that's why you want it. So you are now in a cycle. This cycle means you have to come into the world again, is it not? So this goes opposite of upward, moksha. Is that okay? So these things we will discuss in greater detail. Now coming to A-Klista, now say we are attempting this course, you are wanting to learn something. So now whatever you are trying to learn, if you are very dedicated and this is your genuine experience, this theory and practice, now when this class session is over, next morning or evening, whatever it is, if you are motivated, let me sit for, or let me review this session and do some review and trying to understand things better, or let me practice meditation. So such reminders will also come to you in your mind if you are a genuine learner. Now that is A-Klista, because that is not coming, that is motivating you towards Patanjali Yoga. Now Patanjali Yoga doesn't say, I want to give you sukh. Patanjali is not promising to give you sukh. He says, my teaching is to get you out of this cycle of birth and death. So that will be an example of A-Klista, where you are not interested in the worldly sukha or dukh, you are interested in something different, which we don't know what it is. So, that's why Kapil Sankhya begins with dukh atyant nivit. He's saying, we want to get away from dukh. He is not saying, I want to give you sukh.
Yeah, but how do you define moksha then? Right? Moksha basically, I
because
understand
it
that.
cannot be defined, because we cannot, nobody has the idea of Anand. So he doesn't say, I will give you Anand.
No,
That's why he says, one thing is Sushupti, when you did not have any dukh. So that's why they start their story with Sushupti.
Yeah,
Sushupti, nobody, there is no human being who will say, I did not have Sushupti and I did not like it. So he says, Sushupti is void of dukh. So you create a replica of Sushupti in the daytime. The story is very simple if you want to understand it.
Thank you, Acharya.
Sushupti is, everybody has had it. So I showed you on the day one, Sankhya statement, Samadhi, Sushupti, Mokshe, Shubham, Rupta. So the whole business begins with Sushupti, which every human being has experienced. And the Rishi is saying, you create a replica of that state in the daytime as per your wish. So you master your mind so that your mind is blank. There is nothing more to the story.
Yeah.
The story is very simple, basically.
Yeah. So only maybe I can we can continue this next week. So I was just thinking, moksha, does it mean that you get rid of ahankar that time when you reach moksha, or the storehouse still stays?
No, as I said, we take birth because avidya is there. So that's why I was talking about concept of bees. That we came into this world because there was certain amount of clash. So that clash has to be burned. So that is what, we will learn all this slightly later.
Okay,
There is a
no
lot
problem.
to go.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
Firstly, we don't want to build up clash further.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm asking too
That's
many
why
questions,
we
I think.
don't want,
Yeah.
Klishtveti to become our guideline. So we want to get rid of Klishtveti. But then the original clash that came with it, that we inherited, how to get rid of it. So, there are many layers of these discussions. But I
I
will
know
say,
this discussion can go on forever. So I don't want to ask too many questions. But I just had some questions, so I started asking.
yeah, you have to rely on this
Yeah.
slope that we saw in session 2. Your practice of yoga will answer your questions. It's as simple as that.
Mhm.
If you don't practice it, you will have more and more questions.
Mhm. Okay, got it.
That's what Vyas has written there. Yogain, yogo jatav. If we just argue and talk, that won't help you. That's why the
Yeah.
course is very, very clearly we are saying theory and practice. Practice must be daily practice
Yeah.
as per the scheme. And if you are missing one thing, you don't get the other thing.
Yeah, no, I understand. It is experiential science. It is not something that can be learned theoretically.
Yeah. And this is very, very relevant in the discipline of Patanjali Yoga. Theory and practice must go together.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. We had a
Thank you.
very good discussion, and it was nice to have the session as well as the discussion. We'll meet again next week. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you, Acharya. Pranam.
Thank you, Acharya. Thank you very much.
But I am available in between. You can write to me
Namaste,
by
everybody. Take care.
or
All the
by-
best to everyone.
All the best.
You can
Okay.
also
you,
write to me
Acharya.
by
Namaste.
email or anything, any question, comment. So we are connected. We stay connected. Thank you again.
Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you, Charity.
Thank you, Acharya.